Hello and welcome to the C-Suite. I'm Shawanna Kennedy, your host. That's right, all things the good, the bad, and sometimes ugly of what it looks and feel like to be a CEO. Today, we get to go behind the scenes and listen to this mastermind. She's a visionary. She's a founder. That is in the person, none other than Dr. Lori Smith. Yes, she's been able to manage over $128 billion in government contracting. And to be able to have this conversation with her to give us a little bit more insight on what that looks and feel like and things that we may need to do to set as a blueprint. I know because there's many of people that want to get into that business, but there are some basic things that we need to know. So won't you help me welcome none other than the CEO herself of Acu-Elligent and the proud founder of the Sowing Our Seeds nonprofit foundation, Dr. Lori. Welcome, Lori.
Hello, everyone. And thank you so much, Shawanna, for having me again today.
I'm excited because this is not your first time in the C-suite. And I know, you've been doing a few things and shaking some grounds and look, now I'm excited because we get to call you Dr. Lori Smith.
Hey, that's been a long hill journey.
You know, we appreciate our honorary doctors, but however, this young lady went back and finished her degree. And we're proud to be able to say, look, on this platform, that look, I think we may be one of the first to say it, look, publicly, is Dr. Lori Smith. So I'm excited again. Congratulations on all the hard work that you have done on the back end to accomplish that goal in this season of your life and in your career, because you've done some amazing things for a number of people to help other people build. Yeah. And I know that now you've been doing some things to shake up Acu-Elligent. So today I'm excited to be talking to that CEO and what that looks like, Lori. I know with Acu-Elligent, you've done a number of things. And one, you even do big events over the course of throughout the year to even bring brilliant minds together to help other people to get the tools and the resources that they need. So I want to even jump in with some of my questions. The very first one being, what was even a defining moment that made you want to then transition from, because you have over 25 years of service. So again, thank you for your service. I know you are a proud retiree of the Air Force. So yeah. We excited for that. So yeah, go ahead. I know for all of our military veterans out there, we thank you for your service. But what made you want to transition from the federal services to really saying now my forward facing is me being a CEO and a consultant? What happened to make you want to make that transition?
Well, actually, aside from the fact of just being overworked and just tired, the thing that really was the determining moment for me was actually the transition of my mother. After 41 years of service, that's the combined service of my Air Force career as well as my civilian career. One of the things I stayed in that role, namely, was to make sure that my mother's latter days were her greater days. And as a new life, having the responsibility or having taken on the mantle of making sure my mother was supported, I didn't want to take away from the quality of life that my now husband, was providing. And so how do I maintain that commitment and make sure that my mom had what she had? Now, not that he would not have done that, because absolutely he would have, because I'm grateful for my husband. But it really was, once she's transitioned, that need was no longer there for me to work to make sure that that part of support was provided. And I had over 40 years in federal government, and I didn't want to die in office. I wanted to have the opportunity to freely, share information with whomever I desire to share information with, but namely, women, veteran, and other minority-owned businesses, to make sure that they could be successful in the government market space.
I love it because you're right. That combined, when you think that's a lifetime, actually it's a couple of lifetimes for a lot of people. And
absolutely.
That is no small feat. When you think about many small businesses who want to even tap into contracting, because I know for people who, knowing that you're a part, that you were going to be with me with this conversation, that made a lot of people's ears begin to perk up like, Lori is speaking. What is she saying? Because you have been featured in a number of articles and interviews across the globe because of your tenure and the things that you know, all of the education and all of the background that you know. If somebody wanted to kind of tap into government contracting, where would you actually believe that they would need to start, or the place they need to start? Because everybody want to make it big in government contracting, and we know with what's going on in the White House that things don't look like they looked even 6 months ago.
Well, anyone that want to get started in the government contracting space, especially now, and anyone that's already in the space and is feeling a bit overwhelmed, especially after several contracts were canceled early on in the year, I do encourage them to take advantage of that micro purchase as well as that simplified acquisition purchase, those smaller buys, because then what you're able to do is I'm able to stack. I can build upon the smaller buys. I can now create and start developing, you know, some great CPARs, you know, performance metrics. And now I'm getting that past performance. I'm proving my value and my worth. And so I'm starting small, stacking it so that when it's time for me to pursue a larger effort, I can. Far too often, everyone comes into the space wanting to chase, the 9-figure RFP. Well, that's not time for it's, you know, win slow, but at least it's not going to be ugly, right? And so I think if people take advantage of that micro purchase lane, they will do really well because of the changes, you know. And naturally, recently in 2025, you know, the $250,000 micro purchase threshold went up from WhatsApp threshold went up from 250 to 350. Have these thresholds being increased that do give you more opportunity for those simplified purchases and buys. And so with the increase, especially with the micro purchase threshold being increased to $100,000, you know, the Buy American threshold is still above 10,000. So what that does is open up the door for more qualified and capable vendors to come in and provide supplies and or services to the government, really products, because the you don't have to, one, be registered or certified to get something on the micro purchase threshold. You know, if somebody buying something with a credit card, you know, it's not relegated to just small businesses, but small businesses, it just expand that space for you. And so those are some of the things that people should be mindful of. So that micro purchase and that simplified acquisition threshold and those simplified acquisition procedures, those are small buys, but those are great opportunities to start building credibility and integrity in the space.
That's good. That's so good. So then that makes me want to then know what would be considered one of the biggest myths as it relates to that, because I know your business, Acu-Elligent, it's rooted in all of this knowledge, all of this education that you've had the opportunity to do for decades. So it's like, what is one of the biggest myths when you think about working in this space, and for people who are believing that they could just get in and do it overnight? What's the myth?
Well, I think the myth becomes people just not being mindful or even concerned about myth in and of itself. Probability of your success can be achieved. If you leverage these small buys, now you can scale accordingly. So I think for a lot of times you have those telling folks, hey, I won this here. I won this multi-million-dollar contract and I didn't have experience. And I didn't have that. And I got my pricing off internet and I did this and I did that. Those are myths. You know, can someone come in, put in an offer, put it for against a request for a proposal or request for a quote and win? Absolutely. But if you are not winning off of your capability and or capacity, what you've done is enter a false claim. So you still have to be able to perform. And so come in, the certifications, they are good to have. They will open a door, but your integrity and your ability to perform and execute is going to be the thing that secure the room. You learn how to leverage that, but learn the rules of engagement and stop saying or listening to anyone who's going to say, oh, it's too complicated. No, when did reading become too complicated? You are entering a space calling yourself an entrepreneur and an expert, but then for the rules and the engagement for the space you're trying to enter, You want to say it's too complicated for me to learn. So if it's too complicated for you to learn, that goes to your competency, that goes to your credibility, that goes to your integrity. So why should the government trust you? Learning is fundamental for a lot of things. And so let's stop looking at what we need to know and understand as a challenge and start looking at it as the opportunity that it really is.
Good. I want to know now. I know because of all of the time that you've spent, and you said, I really believe that this is my call now that I've stepped away, a civilian, to do this as my work. Now it's not where you're able to still pull on even financially from what you've been doing over there. How is that now you sitting in the seat as a CEO when you think about not just government contracting, but now I'm choosing after over 40 years of combined service to now say I am stepping away, but then yes, I'm not going to hang up my hat. There is still work for me to do to then step into this space of owning my own. What has that been like for you when we think about the good and the bad of being a CEO?
Well, the good for me was the fact that, especially once I transitioned and made the decision to transition, first and foremost, I always knew that I wanted to transition into becoming an entrepreneur. As a teenager in my hometown of Macon, Georgia, going to Jackson Temple Holiness Church, the then chairman of the deacon board, Samuel Tauber, he really put the spirit of entrepreneurship in us as teenagers. So we had our veggie and fruit stand at the farmer's market. You know, even your girl, Lori, I mean, you can't get me outside now to be hanging out in anyone's dirt. But, you know, I was back there picking peaches and peas and collard greens and all that kind of good stuff because I got to hang out with my friends. And we did that as youth. But, you know, it put that spirit to me at that point in time. So as I transitioned, knew I was going to be transitioning from the military, knew ultimately I would retire from the federal service as well. I knew I wanted to be in this role and in this capacity. So, but for me, it was about alignment. Far too often as entrepreneurs, a lot of those make the transition, but they don't leverage the gifts and the talents that they cultivated over time. You hear so many folks, I mean, I'm passionate about a lot of things, but I'm gifted and talented in a lot of things as well. And for me, my blessing is all of my life work, fun and play, everything aligned. So alignment was important for me. So I knew that I would be aligning myself with something that was meaningful. I do believe in meaningful work. As a contracting officer, a former contracting officer, sitting on the other side, you know, talking to contractors, and I'm talking over 11,000 contractors in my over the life my career, and imparting wisdom and guidance to them. I always knew there would continually be the need of someone that was going to always provide straight talk and truth to these contractors. So, and seeing everything that was occurring with all the spin and then all the hustles, you know, it's still truth to power. There's truth and integrity. So the good for me was that I knew I was transitioning into something that aligned with my gifts, my talents, and that would give me my own personal fulfillment and being in the fact that I would not only be serving a community, you know, yeah, I eventually get, you know, paid for what I do as well, right? So it was like meaningful work. So that was the good part for me. I'm in complete alignment with who I am, what I am, and what I want to do. So that is the good for me. And then having a strong support system, you know, having my husband that has complete faith in everything that I do. And not because he's just my husband, it's because he knows my talent and my abilities. And he is that man that's standing behind me, pushing me up and leveraging me whenever I need that. So all of those things are very important. But as I transitioned, I also had to be mindful. I was competent in the things that I had already been doing in the federal space. I had to make that mental mindset shift as well. So I worked with a phenomenal business coach for a couple of years, Mia Redrick, out of Baltimore, Maryland, and again, facilitated me transforming how I thought about entrepreneurship and what the things that I needed to do. And of course, you know, life happened, you know, COVID, the death of my mother-in-law, the death of a sibling, you know, my own physical, you know, ailments and things of that nature. But again, that transitional aspect of the things that I needed to do. And so that bad part becomes, hey, you over here now. because of the fact that I had to compel myself not to get caught up, not to get on the skateboard everyone else is on, riding down the street, because hey, I knew that wasn't my testimony. I knew I was going to fall off. I knew I'm going to get hurt. So I'm not going to chase everything, or every process is not going to be for you. And that is a very difficult I think transition to go through as a CEO, is recognizing that you have to invest in learning. You have to invest in the knowledge, and that is, you need to be a sound entrepreneur. But then you also have to be mindful. It's just like the word of God. There'll be some messages that are designed directly for you. But as you go through this training, as you go through this development, all aspects of it may not be what's going to fit what your purpose is. And know that that is okay. Take the part that works for you, and everything else, let it go. Let it fall to the wayside. So I also had to learn that. Another bad aspect, or if we call it bad, of being a CEO is the isolation, the feeling of isolation. And I think you and I shared not too long ago, I told you that one of the things I had an epiphany of is that I had to realize that my dream and the path that I have been designated to walk is my dream and my path. There'll be those that are getting excited about it. There'll be those that are want to claim they want to be a part of it. But you can't get caught up with someone not treating your dream like it's their dream, not being as committed to your dream as you need to be to your dream. So you're going to feel alone sometimes. And and you're going to doubt that you're doing things right. And another thing I was telling you too, just yesterday, our friend CP, told me, hey, what's this uncomfortable truth? The uncomfortable truth for me was, I'm sitting here with all of this knowledge and information that I know people need, but then I also was getting stuck in the things that I did while I worked for the Air Force, while I worked for Federal Service, is trying to make sure it was perfect. And so not that I chunk profession, but right now, what people need is that immediate support, and I'm here and I'm prepared to provide it. So, you have to just recognize those things. You don't have to be perfect. Don't get caught up, with your self-doubt. Don't doubt yourself. You are as great as you need to be. You're already worthy of being loved. You are as smart as you know that you are, and just operate in that, and just move forward. Don't stop. Just keep moving forward, and over time, it'll become, it'll get prettier. But don't sit and just hold back on it. And so, from a good, bad perspective, those are the things that I transition with, and of course, the ugly. We don't like to talk about the ugly parts of successes, but the ugly part is coming across people. And although you are trying to do right by folks out here on these streets, y'all folks scandalous. Honey, you'll steal anything that ain't tied down. So you and that's a spirit of discernment that you have to have and you have to maintain, but you can't get discouraged about that. And so, and those are the ugly side. The ugly side is that somebody is going to scrutinize, and they're not going to think. I'm not going to say that they don't think that you're as great as you are. They want to acknowledge that you are as great as you are. Recently, I had a situation where I helped a person do an analysis of, they got a rejection on the offer. Based on just the limited information that I had, I pointed out, hey, in the event that you want to protest, these are some of the reasons and rationales you can otherwise use, but not being privy to your whole story, not certain that you have that as an option, but otherwise, that's the only avenue for you here. Then it was like, oh, can you help me with this and help me with that? And oh, if you do all of this here, this will help me prove your worth. And when they said that, look at here, I am a fee-for-service agency. I don't mind giving to anyone, and everybody know it. You can call me for a 15-minute conversation, and if you got time, we talking an hour and 15, and that's a multi-million-dollar conversation that you done had for free. Everyone know that's who I am. But do not continue to tell, especially women of color. That is the very ugly side of it all, is that someone is sitting around assuming that we always got to prove our worth. I don't have to prove anything to you or anyone else. Look here, he has already established in the earth and the world and the universe that I am his. So I don't have to do anything else. I was chosen from my mama's womb to be blessed. Who are you to tell me I got to continue to prove myself to you? And so that is what we're doing. But it's not just them or someone else doing it. Culturally, woman to woman, black woman to black woman, black man to black woman, we're doing it to ourselves, and that is what we got to stop. Help don't look like help anymore.
We have discussions all the time. And as you see, it's even with you speaking here. And I said you was a train when before I hit record, before we decided to go live, I already knew that I had a live wire on the line, y'all. So I hope y'all showing Lori Smith some love, Dr. Lori Smith some love in the comments in the chat over there. Make sure you are following her on LinkedIn, because as you see, she is a wealth of knowledge. She is a jewel, and she be dropping gems all the time. As you can see, this is what she gets to do. She loves to do. This is a part of who she is, not just what she does. And as you see, it actually probably is over there coming out of her pores. I want to know, because I do have to ask this, because when we think about being in these streets, as they say, making the decision to sit in the seat as a chief executive officer, I even often say we have to be that first in our life, never above, because we are women of faith, never above our creator. What does that look like when you think about even visibility? Because that's one of the things that I promote about being seen, being heard, and known. Like you say, us being women of color, it's oftentimes believed that we have to work 10 times as hard. We have to give a gazillion things away free just to even show who we are and what our worth is. And I know you stand firm on that, saying, no, that's already been done. That price has already been paid, and the price is the price. How important is visibility, and how critical is that? Do you believe visibility is in anything that we do as CEOs, as leaders?
Well, actually, visibility is very critical. And then we also have to be mindful of what does visibility means to us. How am I being visible? And look here, as a CEO, I'm actually guilty of this visibility thing, namely because on my life journey, I worked a doctorate, wrote a book. Again, mother-in-law passed away, sister passed away, sister diagnosed with Alzheimer's, sister diagnosed with blood clots. So you do all of these things through life. And this is over the past 4 years. This ain't, been just over all the years that I've been alive on this earth. This is the things aside from COVID that you have in this past 4 years. So visibility, what we got to do, we have to compel ourselves to make sure that we're visible, and then you're visible in the right space and in the right way. And, even as a component of Sowing Our Seeds, when we do the retreat, we bring in image consultants, we bring in brand consultants, we bring in makeup artists, we bring in people who talk about the emotional well-being, and emotional health, of our mindset. We bring in etiquette coaches, and we do that so that, again, we talk a lot about networking. And the purpose of it all is so that even when we step out, we're not only stepping out in our competence, but we're stepping out confidently. So you're as confident as you are competent when you step into these places, and visibility is important. And it's about alignment as well as relates to visibility. We can't show up in every scene, in every spot, in every place with everybody. And we have to own that. When you are a professional, even when I originally got started, I sat in on someone had sent me a link to someone's webinar because they said they were GovCon. I was just retired, and they said, oh, Lori, this would be great. Go check this out. So I did it. And I'm sitting there at this webinar, and this person has someone on their platform, and I'm looking at them, and they supposed to have won all of this money. And I'm really challenged, but I can see. And I'm looking, and you're trying to find a spot in look like some little crappy place to hold your phone up to talk over this here. And I know that could happen, but I'm looking at what's behind him. But then I caught the name. And the name of this person, I was like, man, where I know this name from? And I Googled, and sure enough, this is a person who years prior, Department of Justice had a case against him for, undercutting, taking bids, fraud. So I'm like, are we not vetting the people that we bring on platforms to make sure, if nothing else, they don't have a criminal record or a case against them? So of course, I immediately got out of the webinar, but then I was like, man, I'm always cognizant of where I'm at. But when we're visible, we have, and I'm mindful that people, look here, I have a family. Look, I have family from the South. Look here, my family's from the community. We from the hood. So we got some relatives that, got off task, mindful of that. But what I'm saying is, when you are a CEO and when you are trying to convince and sell your services and what you offer as the solution to someone else's problem, you need to be mindful of who you have endorsing you and who you are trying to leverage for endorsement. So if people have active criminal cases or convictions against them in the space you are supposed to be the expert in, just look, that's a caution. That's caution. Be mindful of that, because now what you're doing is misrepresenting. And so, but when we're visible, visibility is not just about, you get on me all the time that I'm not doing the videos and the reels, and I'm trying to get better at that, y'all, but she is beating me down. She does do my social media for me. And so she is getting on me. So I'm trying to be more visible in that capacity. But visibility still got to showcase your integrity. People got to see that you're credible. You just cannot be haphazard in your visibility, because if that's the footprint you want people to see, you want that to be above reproach. And so it's very important. Being at the right place at the right time and for the right purpose and the right reason is also important. And then getting out there in the streets, and that's what I'm in this transitional phase. I finished the doctorate, I finished the book. So now I have time back. My sisters, their help so great. So now it's focus. It's time for me to commit to Acu-Elligent and Sowing our seeds, as well as Focus-Wise. And so that's what I'm committed to. That's what I'm working on, is obtaining a publicist to, one, give me local visibility in the community. Because those are some of the things that we forget about and we shy away from, is that local visibility. And just like stacking small purchases until it's time to go for that big one, stack these local opportunities until it's time for you to get on that bigger stage. Do the same thing.
I love it. Don't y'all love Lori? Dr. Lori, don't y'all love Dr. Lori? My God, powerful. So Dr. Lori, don't you go nowhere. I appreciate all of y'all for taking the time to pause for this episode of C-Suite, the CEO Chat. Y'all know I enjoy being your host, bringing amazing guests such as Dr. Lori to you. And I want you to remember, it don't cost you anything to go ahead and subscribe, tell somebody, hit like, share, do all of the things that you know you need to do to just help this get out. Help us get the word out about C-Suite, the CEO Chat. And you just might be our very next CEO. I want to thank you. Hang around, come on back, because we're going to have to do a part 2, part 3 with Dr. Lori. Just wave at the people and tell the people goodbye, Dr. Lori. All right, y'all. We'll see you next time. Bye for now. This episode is brought to you by Kennedy Media and Entertainment, your premier video productions and digital visibility partner. Working with business owners just like you to be seen, heard, and paid by elevating your brand with high-impact video content, online visibility strategies, and expert social media management. Ready to stand out in your industry, on and off camera? Contact Kennedy Media today, and let's turn your message into a movement. Because visibility isn't optional, it's essential. Contact KennedyMediaLLC.com, KennedyMediaLLC.com, and let's boost your brand's visibility. It's time for you to be seen, heard, and known for your expertise. Contact us today.